Hello and welcome to Wrestling Trope Alert, the channel where we analyze professional wrestling. Today we are going back to 2006 and we are going to talk about the rivalry between the WWE Champion John Cena and Britney Spears' then husband Kevin Federline. As always, don't forget to help the channel by clicking the subscribe button, liking this video or dropping a sweet comment below. Thank you for watching! In late 2006, the WWE, desperate to grab some mainstream attention, involved a celebrity in their programming, and so desperate was the WWE for attention that they scraped the bottom of the barrel, and the future ex-husband of Britney Spears, Kevin Federline, would have a rivalry with the company's top superstar, John Cena. At this time, Cena had been solidifying his main event status by prevailing over all the other stars. Cena was the WWE Champion and Cena was the top star in the company. And at the same time, Kevin Federline and his relationship with the queen of pop music Britney Spears covered the airwaves, with the general sentiment being that Federline was a no-talent buffoon that somehow swindled Britney Spears into a relationship, and so the people resented Federline for it. The constant barrage of negative media coverage on the Britney-Federline relationship only solidified in the eyes of the people the general hate garnered towards Federline, and Federline, to his credit, tried hard to direct his mainstream recognition towards something tangible, and thus his rap career was born in the form of his album Playing with Fire. It was during the promotion of this album that Federline and Cena's paths crossed, and the eternal quest for the WWE to get mainstream attention would merge with Federline's quest for more clout. We pick up this story on the October 16th episode of Monday Night Raw. Cena is scheduled for a match at the following pay-per-view Cyber Sunday against the World Heavyweight Champion Booker T of SmackDown and Big Show, who is the champion for the WWE's third brand, ECW. And in the middle of the Raw broadcast, we find Johnny Nitro accompanied by his valet / real-life girlfriend Melina talking about their mystery guest appearing later on Raw. Side note, at this point, Johnny Nitro, the future John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, and most recently Johnny Drip Drip, is fresh off the dissolution of his tag team with Joey Mercury, M&M. Johnny Nitro is having a run in WWE's mid-card, feuding with Jeff Hardy for the Intercontinental Championship, and Nitro is gonna play a pivotal role in the Cena Federline storyline. Now in the ring, Nitro and his then girlfriend Melina continue to portray their gimmick of being Hollywood famous, and Nitro introduced the quote-unquote A-lister celebrity Britney Spears' husband Kevin Federline. Kevin Federline makes his entrance to a mainly uninterested crowd, and K-Fed joins Nitro and Melina to cut a promo on the Los Angeles audience, while grabbing his pants multiple times. Federline thanks Nitro and Melina, and then Federline proceeds to insult the audience.
I think you're just a bunch of LA superficial posers. Same people that are in here booing, same people that are out buying magazines with my face in it.
Nitro interjects to call the people ignorant.
Don't listen to him, man. These people are ignorant.
Then Melina gets her 2 cents in.
That was so profound.
Federline then asks if the crowd want to hear him drop some bars, and Federline plugs his new album Playing with Fire. Fun fact, John Cena starred in the movie back in 2019 with the very same name.
Y'all wanna hear me rap? You can wait till October 31st. Pick the album up.
This would lead to the Doctor of Thugonomics John Cena, the hip-hoppiest of WWE stars in kayfabe, to make his entrance. Cena then cuts a promo on Federline, Nitro and Melina, and Cena becomes offended that Federline promised a rap performance and didn't deliver.
Now I can't have you promise some sort of elaborate hip-hop performance and then waltz out.
Cena then proceeds to dust off his old rap gimmick, and Cena goes on a verbal assault on Kevin Federline.
The only reason people know you lose because your fame and fortune's built in. He's got like John Cena street cred and less talent than Paris Hilton. The album's called Playing with Fire. I got a better line. Let's call it the world's biggest scumbag. Kevin Federline! Add Johnny Nitro. You ain't got the nuts to hit me. And if K-Fed wasn't around, I'd be spearing Britney.
Nitro then takes off his elaborate costume and tries to punch Cena. Cena disposes of Nitro in quick fashion, then Cena's future opponents, ECW World Champion Big Show and the World Heavyweight Champion King Booker show up to interrupt Cena. Then Vince McMahon would also join the fun. Federline and Nitro would disappear and the ring segment would transform into an announcement by Vince McMahon that the Cyber Sunday bout would crown the Champion of Champions. But the winner of the match, despite being the Champion of Champions, wouldn't actually get all the titles. Instead, Vince McMahon announces that at Cyber Sunday, the people will vote for which one of the 3 championships will be at stake at the pay-per-view. Then everyone leaves and Cena is left in the ring alone, and Federline is still sitting by the announce desk. Then Federline joins Cena in the ring and Federline chimes in on which title should be defended at the pay-per-view.
Yours. I want to see you get your ass kicked up and down this ring.
Cena then picks up Federline and delivers his finishing move, the FU, now known as the Attitude Adjustment, and then Cena leaves. This is where the story falls off the rails. At this point, this was an innocent celebrity cash grab for promotion of Federline's album. Cena had prevailed and delivered his finishing move on the heel mainstream celebrity. But because of the huge mainstream publicity received from this moment and the fact that Raw had spiked in the ratings to a 3.9 rating after a 3.6 average, unfortunately, Federline's presence in the WWE airwaves would continue. On the following Raw broadcast, a non-title match was announced between the champion John Cena and Johnny Nitro, who would be accompanied by Melina and his good friend Kevin Federline. Kevin Federline is opening the show, which is probably one of the best ways to kill a crowd right from the start. Federline says that he wants some payback on John Cena.
One word, payback!
Federline says to the Chicago crowd,
I'm not a lovable loser. I'm not like the Chicago Cubs.
Kevin Federline then introduces future John Cena's Cyber Sunday opponent King Booker, accompanied by the lovely Queen Charmel. And walking down the ramp, King Booker plugs Federline's album,
And it is a treasure.
and King Booker hopes that the people will choose Cena's title for contention at the Cyber Sunday pay-per-view, so Booker can become both the World Heavyweight Champion and the WWE Champion. The New Year's baby, the Big Show, would make his entrance next, and Big Show tells the people that he will be the one to come out victorious. Shocking. And we are missing the one true champion, John Cena, and Cena would show up microphone in hand to cut a promo on top of the ramp. Cena would insult the man standing in the ring.
This right here is the dumbest lineup in the history of Celebrity Jeopardy.
Cena then compares Big Show to 2 characters from 2 beloved movie franchises.
Hell, I almost fell out of my seat when he took that role in Return of the Jedi as Jabba the Hutt. Big Show in New York fighting the Ghostbusters as a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Cena then turns his attention to King Booker, and Cena takes offense to Booker T calling Federline's album a treasure.
And you called Kevin Federline's album Playing with Fire a treasure. King Booker, you crossed the line. Congratulations, Booker. You have officially lost your status as a black man.
And the master of one-liners, Ron Simmons, would make his entrance.
Damn!
Side note, this wasn't the first time that Ron Simmons had uttered the word damn. Simmons had been using it for years, but according to the internet, this was the very first time that Ron Simmons did his famous one-liner damn in this fashion. Cena then disses Federline and leaves.
Instead of playing with fire, you'd have better luck playing with yourself.
30 minutes later, in a backstage segment, Federline's appearance on CSI and Federline's album coming out October 31st, Playing with Fire, are plugged. Nitro then says that he's a better athlete than John Cena, and moments later Nitro, Melina and Federline would make their entrance for the Nitro-Cena match, with some lovely cringe mixed in, cause as Melina is climbing the ropes for Nitro to slide in the ring under, Federline would stand staring at Melina, leading to Nitro shooing Federline away.
Cringe.
Cena would then make his entrance, saluting the audience because of his movie role in the Marine. Cena dives in the ring as he often does, and Cena and Nitro would go toe-to-toe with each other, with Cena overpowering Nitro and Nitro delighting the audience with his awesome athletic skills, and Melina and Federline attempting to distract the champion, and later in the match Cena would be thrown to the outside, and the piece of crap Federline would make fun of the champion, and Federline would slap Cena.
What? Oh no!
Cena would no-sell the slap and Nitro would jump on Cena, and then Nitro would smash Cena's face in the announce desk, stopping Cena from taking revenge on Federline. Back in the ring after a side suplex and a 5-knuckle shuffle, Cena would give an FU to Nitro and win this match clean in the middle of the ring, and then it would be time for revenge on Federline. Cena would chase Federline around the ring and up the ramp. Federline trips, and King Booker and Big Show would again keep Cena from exacting revenge on Federline. Cena would be dragged back to the ring and Cena would receive a vicious clothesline from Booker T, a chokeslam with authority from Big Show, and then King Booker would betray the Big Show and deliver a bookend on the Big Show, followed by a scissor kick on John Cena. King Booker then leaves the ring to celebrate in the ramp with Federline. On the next Raw broadcast, Federline would be absent. Johnny Nitro would be defeated in a match by Carlito, and John Cena would be in a tangled mess of a storyline that saw him previewing the Cyber Sunday pay-per-view, and the WWE Universe would have the choice of 3 opponents for John Cena in the main event: King Booker, Big Show, and the coach, Jonathan Coachman. And because of reasons, the coach character would permeate this lovely edition of Monday Night Raw, and Coach would even do a wrestling trope alert version of the trope wrestler in the ring challenging the locker room, only for the worst option to appear, and the coach would challenge whoever comes out of a random door in a random locker room.
The next person that walks through that door, I'm gonna beat down just to warm up.
Leading to the master of the one-liner Ron Simmons appearing to deliver his lovely catchphrase.
Damn!
In the ending moments of the broadcast, it would be announced that the winner of the fan vote with 74% of the votes would be Coach. And once again, Coach is in a storyline with 2 cronies against a champion, exactly like the crap that happened the year prior, in the earliest iteration of the Cyber Sunday pay-per-view, then airing on a Tuesday named Taboo Tuesday, where Coach was joined by Vader and Goldust to battle Batista in a street fight, and that match was also the result of a horrible storyline. A storyline that saw Stone Cold Steve Austin back out of a match because Vince McMahon wanted Stone Cold to lose to the announcer Jonathan Coachman, because logic. I made a video talking about that whole debacle, links are in the description. Back to the match and this recycled storyline, Cena would quickly dispose of Coach in under 3 minutes, with his FU to Jonathan Coachman as Raw would go off the air. At the Cyber Sunday pay-per-view, King Booker and his Queen Charmel would attempt to enlist both the Big Show and John Cena into an alliance, but they would have little success. Big Show would give Queen Charmel a flat no, and Cena would play 3D chess with King Booker by pretending to accept Booker T's offer.
Now I, King Booker, suggest we make a royal pact. What do you think about that?
Okay.
You are as wise as Solomon and smart as Socrates.
Then Cena tells King Booker what he wants in return for the alliance with King Booker.
If I do this, I need one thing in return. One night with the Queen.
What? You lost your rabbit-ass mind!
This would lead to Queen Charmel becoming angry, and King Booker directing his angry wife outside, promising to resolve this issue.
One night with my queen. Okay.
Booker T would fall right into Cena's trap.
You're sick and twisted. I was never gonna take your wife.
Calm down, man.
And then Cena would snitch on Booker.
To be Charmel, Casey Yeager, Finley's Midget, Hacksaw Jim Duggan's 2x4, and I get to watch.
Queen Charmel takes great offense, and the only way to summarize this whole segment would be...
Damn! This is such good.
1 hour and a half later, in the main event of Cyber Sunday, according to the WWE, over 14 million people would cast their vote and decide that King Booker's title, the World Heavyweight Championship, would be the one to be defended. And the match would start with Cena taking the first shot on King Booker. Then the Big Show joins the violence and, as it is usual in three-way matches, Booker T would leave the ring and Cena and Show would trade blows with each other under the watchful eye of Booker T, and this back and forth between two wrestlers and the third one outside the ring selling would continue for close to 20 minutes, and eventually Super Cena would deliver the 5-knuckle shuffle to King Booker, and coming to the aid of her man, Queen Charmel would attempt to interfere, but she would pay for it dearly by getting the FU. Then Booker T, incensed with rage, would attempt to enact revenge on behalf of his wife, and Cena would drop to hold Booker T into an STFU submission, and our favorite male gold digger Kevin Federline would show up to interfere. Cena would not sell being hit with the title, and Booker T would take advantage of Federline distraction, and Booker would strike Cena with his own title, and King Booker would then pin Cena in the middle of the ring and keep his World Heavyweight title. Federline would enter the ring to use Cena's ham tongue, and Cena would remain looking at the lights as the show goes off the air with Federline's ugly mug. Side note, in 2006, the cost for the Cyber Sunday pay-per-view was $39.95. Adjusted for inflation, that's $53.84. And the last thing you see in this pay-per-view, after you paid your hard-earned money, it's Britney Spears' husband prevailing over John Cena. Let that sink in. After the Cyber Sunday pay-per-view, 3 questions hover in the mind of the WWE Universe. 1. When will John Cena give a receipt to Federline because of his actions at Cyber Sunday? 2. Why am I watching Britney Spears' husband on Raw? And 3. Seriously, why the fuck is Kevin Federline on my wrestling? On the following Raw broadcast, 30 minutes into the show, Federline on a backstage segment would speak about the happenings of Cyber Sunday. Federline would challenge Cena for a match on New Year's Day, January 1st, live on the Raw broadcast in Miami. Federline adds that Miami is one of the many places that he owns a house with his wife Britney. Side note, in an insane turn of events, Kevin Federline would be served divorce papers the very next day from his wife Britney Spears, and the only thing that would keep Federline's search for clout via the WWE, Federline's association with one of the greatest pop stars of all time, would essentially come to an end, and that probably made Vince McMahon cry. Also, Bruce Pritchard revealed on his Something to Wrestle With podcast that some of the creative staff were heavily interested in using Federline to eventually get Britney Spears in some capacity for WrestleMania. Basically the very same reason that the WWE kept David Otunga around for so long. The fact that Otunga was married to Jennifer Hudson, a very famous singer and Oscar winner. Later in the broadcast, Cena would accept Federline's challenge in the middle of the ring, and after this announcement, all of the involved characters of the story would go on to entertain themselves with other pursuits. Cena would begin his rivalry with Umaga, and Cena would captain a Survivor Series team composed of Kane, ECW wrestlers Bobby Lashley, Rob Van Dam and Sabu, against a team captained by The Big Show composed of Finley, MVP, Test and Cena's main rival Umaga, and Cena, along with Lashley, would be the last survivors of that match. Johnny Nitro would wrestle Jeff Hardy and win the Intercontinental title, and Nitro would immediately lose it the very next week. And Nitro would also reunite with his tag team partner Joey Mercury, who made his return after violating the WWE wellness policy, and Eminem would be reunited to feud with the Hardys at ECW's pay-per-view December to Dismember, a pay-per-view universally hailed by critics as one of the worst ever produced by the WWE. Kevin Federline would only return to Raw in person more than a month later, but in the meantime the WWE would have little reminders of the rivalry here and there. On the November 20th episode of Raw, Johnny Nitro and Melina would send their heartfelt feelings towards Federline.
Hey Fed, I know you're watching and we just want to let you know that you are in our hearts.
And 2 weeks later, on the December 4th episode of Raw, on a segment between Melina and Cena, Federline's picture would appear in the Titantron.
Boys and girls at home, that right there is the reason you gotta practice safe sex.
A week later, on the December 11th episode of Raw, Nitro and Melina would be speaking with Federline via speakerphone.
Hey Fed, it's Melina.
How you doing, Melina?
Doing good.
Then Nitro and Melina would leave and Federline would be left speaking to the void.
Hello?
The master of the one-liners, Ron Simmons, would then present Federline with his wonderful catchword. And later in the broadcast, Nitro, Federline's crony, would interfere in a match between Cena and Umaga's manager Armando Alejandro Estrada by kicking Cena in the head, adding later that Nitro had taught that very same kick to Kevin Federline.
The type of move that I'm teaching the man that is gonna beat you come January 1st, Federline!
Leading to a match on the main event of the Raw broadcast where Cena would win with the FU clean in the middle of the ring. And finally, on the December 18th episode of Monday Night Raw, Kevin Federline finally returns in person, at first appearing in the backstage segment with Nitro and Melina. The recently divorced Federline would be hugged by Melina as he stares into the camera looking like a creep. And an hour and a half later, Jim Ross would introduce Kevin Federline to the audience. And Federline would proceed to cut a promo on the audience accusing the people of hating Federline. Federline says that he takes pride in shocking the world, and Federline vows to win his match against Cena on New Year's Day as he steals Cena's catchphrase.
I want some, and I'ma get some!
And wrestling trope alert, every time there is a rivalry in the WWE, the lowest man on the totem pole always steals their opponent's catchphrase and uses it against them.
The book has come back to Utah!
This isn't the house that AJ Styles built!
I'm next.
The storyline between John Cena and Kevin Federline would finally culminate in the January 1st episode of Monday Night Raw. Raw opens with a recap from this awful rivalry and John Cena would make his way to the ring. Then Kevin Federline would have a long introduction courtesy of Lillian Garcia. And here comes Federline decked in a robe bearing his name, to a mainly uninterested crowd. Federline would cut a promo on top of the ring, and apparently Federline was in talks with then authority figure, the coach. And this lame-ass match would now become a no disqualification match, and that means that all kinds of shenanigans could now ensue legally. Federline would then introduce Johnny Nitro without Melina, also decked out in Team Federline boxing gear. Both men would then walk to the ring and Federline would eyeball John Cena, who is probably regretting ever accepting to be part of this awful storyline. Cena would remove his shirt, signaling that he's ready for a fight. Then Federline would put his mouthguard and his gloves on. Federline would now turn to face Cena, and turns out that Federline also forgot to take off his robe and also his helmet. And after that's done, finally the bell would ring and Cena would offer his neck for Federline to grab. And Federline grabs Cena's neck. Cena would then break free and then more stalling would happen as Federline removes his gloves. Nitro places a chair in the ring canvas and directs Mike Chioda, the referee, to place it in the middle of the ring for a Master Lock challenge. Side note, a month earlier, John Cena had broken Chris Masters' full Nelson, dubbed the Master Lock. Cena was the first man to break the Master Lock in Chris Masters' Master Lock challenge, essentially bearing Chris Masters' gimmick of having this undefeated hold, which eventually led to the demise of Chris Masters' masterpiece character. But that's a story for another day. Continuing this train wreck of a story, Federline would give the worst full Nelson ever to John Cena, and Cena would quickly release himself, then the would continue with the feat of strength, in which Cena offers only one arm. Federline struggles with both arms, and somehow Federline would manage to drop Cena and apply an armbar, and the powerhouse Cena would lift up Federline and place him ever so softly on the corner turnbuckle. Then, because this so-called match actually needs some action, Nitro would get in the ring to hit a clothesline, and Nitro would be hit canned to the outside. And off that distraction, Federline would low blow Cena, but Cena, who has balls of steel, recovers soon after, and Cena puts Federline in the fireman's carry position. And as Federline is dangling on Cena's shoulders, Umaga, John Cena's foe for the following pay-per-view, New Year's Revolution, would show up to lay the violence on Cena, and eventually Umaga would strike Cena with the WWE Championship, leaving Cena staring at the lights. Kevin Federline would then cover John Cena and win by pinfall, because logic. Moments later, Federline and his entourage would be in a backstage segment celebrating Federline's accomplishment with authority figure Jonathan Coachman. And this is where this actually gets worse, because Coach makes a handicap match for the main event. Umaga, with his manager Armando Alejandro Estrada, Johnny Nitro and Jonathan Coachman will face John Cena in the main event because of reasons. An hour later, this band of misfits would be shown walking backstage, and then Federline's music would play, and Federline would again grace us with his presence. Federline would head to the ring, and again Federline would cut another promo, mainly keeping his back to the camera. Federline says that he shocked the world when he beat John Cena, and Federline plans to sit ringside and watch the car wreck that would be unfolding. Coach would make his entrance with duct tape across his Cena shirt, then Nitro would follow without Melina, and Umaga and Armando would be next. Cena would then make his entrance, and Cena would proceed to pummel Umaga, and Cena would cause Umaga to crash into the corner turnbuckle, and then Umaga, while rushing Cena, would fall outside of the ring. Nitro would then enter the ring to deliver a couple of punches on Cena, but Super Cena overpowers Nitro, and after a suplex, Nitro goes straight into the ring post. Umaga would give a Samoan drop to Cena. Umaga would then climb the ropes to fall as first on Cena. Cena, however, would recover in time to lift his knees and punish Umaga's man parts. Then Cena would throw Coach and Armando in the ring. STFU on Umaga. Armando with a chair attempts to hit Cena. Cena catches him and then gets disqualified for hitting Umaga in the head with a horrible chair shot. That wouldn't be possible today because of CTE. Coach would get an FU, and finally Cena would be able to enact revenge on Federline, and Cena would deliver an FU to the cloud-chasing piece of crap that Federline is. And that would be the end of John Cena's rivalry with Kevin Federline. Thank you for watching this trip down memory lane. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. Feel free to press that like button and also subscribe for more future content just like this, or better. This has been fun, thank you for watching.